Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, this is interesting. I somehow missed this story. I saw it on YouTube a couple of days ago, people talking about mushrooms and picking the right mushrooms and how dangerous it is to pick the wrong mushrooms and everything. And I sort of thought, oh, did someone get poisoned or something? And then I saw some other stories, and yes, someone got poisoned. I thought, oh, that's really sad. I mean, I grew up in a small town. My dad and mum used to pick mushrooms all the time. Well, my dad used to pick them all the time. I think my mum did as well. We had horses on property that we used to visit like every day, and sometimes mum would pick mushrooms. So we never got sick because my mum and dad both grew up on farms, so they knew which mushrooms you could pick and you couldn't pick. So I thought, oh, that's sad. Must be someone who just didn't know, who was just being adventurous, or maybe some people. The indication was people were struggling with money, so they were looking for food sources outside of the norm and they didn't know. And that's how I sort of heard this story and made sense of it at first. But then I just saw some other videos. I'm like, oh, no, it's actually not about that. It's not an accidental poisoning. It's not, or doesn't appear to be an accidental poisoning. It's not someone who picked mushrooms and was mistaken. It's someone who is now suspected of murder. Now, I'm just a YouTuber. I'm not a journalist, so this is just my opinion. I can say whatever I want, allegedly, supposedly. I have watched a few videos and looked at a bit of information that's been reported about this, and it looks like a fairly clear case of attempted murder on the case of this woman. And this has gone all around the world. Everyone's talking about it. Although they've been very diplomatic about it, because, like I said, the first few articles that I saw, it just seemed to be just a misunderstanding about identifying the right mushrooms, and that they weren't like screaming attempted murder, poisoning, all that sort of stuff. But now they're starting to mention poisoning, and one lady's picture kept coming up, and I thought, oh, what's this about? I have to have a look at this. So basically, there's this lady. Her name is Erin Patterson. She lives in a town called Leongathan, near Korumburra or somewhere, which is somewhere, I think it's in Victoria. These are little towns, no one really knows about them. We never heard about them until now. Apparently they're a little religious town, which does give the story a little bit of extra creep factor, because you never know with these little religious groups and sects and towns and things, what's happening there. Why do they have to go form a little town somewhere by themselves? But yeah, we won't go there. So yeah, now this lady basically invites her ex-husband. They've been split up for a few years now. She's got the kids. She invites the ex-husband over and his mother and father and uncle. They all come, except the husband last minute doesn't come. So she bakes a beef Wellington, and she feeds it to the mother, the father and the uncle. She supposedly didn't have any, and she didn't feed any to her kids. And then 3 of the 4 people who ate, there was 4 people, wasn't there? Who was the other person? There were 4 people who got sick, 3 died. There was a pastor, and I'm not sure if he was related or if he was just a family friend who was there. I thought I had all the notes there, and I'm like, no, I didn't record what relationship he had to the family. The mother, the father, and the uncle all died. The mother and father died right away. The uncle died the next day, and the pastor needs a liver transplant. He's alive, but it's destroyed his liver. They believe they were fed the death cap mushroom, which pretty much kills people right away. It's very poisonous. Now, there's a few inconsistencies, of course. Now, this lady claims, at first it was reported that she didn't have any of it, which looked very suspicious, and her children weren't given any, which also looks very suspicious. She now has spoken out and said that she was told to not speak to the police, to not give any information, and now she was coming out saying that she did eat the meal. She got sick as well. She was given some sort of, sounded like a very magic sort of, liver protection sort of pills or something, and that she was okay. And I'm like, that sounds a bit, does that exist? Just the way they said it. Now, maybe they're trying to discredit her. Maybe she was just making things up. I don't know. But apparently, yeah, she got sick too, but she was fine. And she's the only one who's not in hospital. Oddly enough, she's running around like normal, whereas these other people are practically dead or practically dead, like this poor pastor. Now, she didn't say where she got the mushrooms at first. The assumption was she'd picked them herself and this was a mistake. But she didn't actually say that. That was what people were running with, apparently, because in the absence of actual information, people just make up a story because they have to get the news story out, I think is what happened there. But also it was a good opportunity to actually warn about that, because it is a small problem that does happen from time to time. And they even mentioned like people from other countries sometimes come to Australia and they pick the wrong mushrooms because they can't identify the local ones versus the ones that maybe they picked back in their country. So it was something that was sort of talked about quite a bit. But she said that she bought mushrooms from, like fresh mushrooms from a supermarket, and dried mushrooms, I think, from an Asian grocery store or something. Now, there's no recall, there's no reports of any recalls or anyone else being sick, so had this been a faulty product, wouldn't other people have gotten sick? If you found out that someone bought something from your store and then 3 people end up dead, aren't you going to do a recall? Like, aren't you obliged to? Wouldn't you just out of, like, clearly, I mean, if she had gone to this grocery store and there was receipts and proof what she bought and everything, clearly they'd be panicking and covering themselves right now, because if anyone else gets poisoned and it's traced back to them and it's their fault, you know. So I allegedly, supposedly doubt that actually happened. I think she got the mushrooms herself. I don't think she got them from a store. It could be a fluke that someone mispicked them or something, and she just ended up with one mushroom that should never have been, you know, in there. That's not impossible. It's very unlikely. The other issue is apparently there was a some kind of food dehydrator that she took to the tip. So it looks like, allegedly, supposedly, in my opinion, she was hiding evidence that she actually dehydrated these mushrooms in this food dehydrator and then was getting rid of the evidence, because she took it to a tip and they, in their investigations, found it, and now they have it. And she's saying that she bought them. Now, whether she just cooked them with that or whether she actually picked them and then fried them, dried them, whatever, with that, I'm not sure what she's exactly saying. She made a written statement. She didn't speak to the police. She gave a no comment interview, and then she released a written press release or something, or a written statement through her lawyer. And she did talk to someone from Current Affair or someone in her car park in her driveway. But she basically, call me cynical, but it seemed like a bit of a performance. She was crying and she kept talking about how, devastated she was that this happened to these people, and she got the names wrong. She was confusing these people who are apparently her family. It seemed very strange. And it's very easy to put, a spin on these sort of things and report them. Doesn't that sound strange? And I haven't seen any reporters doing that. I feel like they've been reporting this fairly, but it looks, in my opinion, allegedly, supposedly, very likely this lady tried to kill her husband and his parents and the uncle. But the other thing that's very interesting that's come up since then is her ex-husband was poisoned a year ago. He believed she had tried to poison him, and that may have been why he perhaps didn't show up for the dinner. And he had put on social media that he had a gut. What do they call it? A gut. How do they put it? They described it in a specific way I thought sounded really non-medical, but basically he had some sort of stomach illness, and they thought it could have been poison, but he wasn't sure. And like I said, he didn't turn up to this dinner, so that might be why. So, and she didn't feed it to her children, which is telling. She says she had some herself, but yet she wasn't affected and was given some sounds like magical medicine that stopped her from being affected, which I'm assuming if that existed, they would have given it to the others, but it just doesn't make any sense. I think she did it. In my opinion, it looks really obvious, and no, I don't actually know. I don't have evidence. I'm just listening to what people are reporting, and sometimes people don't report things objectively. I know that, but I'm just surprised this is like a murder sort of case and a mystery. I thought it was just a case of someone picking the wrong mushrooms and poisoning themselves, basically, is what I thought had happened. But after I sort of kept seeing the news articles pop up and I actually looked at some of them, I realised, it's actually a totally different situation. And it's kind of interesting and it's juicy and everyone's talking about it, and it's gone all around the world that this little, this woman in this little Melbourne town, this little country town, sort of religious country town, tried to poison half her family. And just the stupidity of it, I'm going to give my husband-in-law my mother and father and ex-mother and father-in-law, my ex-husband, I'm going to poison all of them, but I'm not going to eat it, and I'm not going to give it to my children. Like, the stupidity of some of these people that commit crimes is fascinating, because some of them are huge narcissists and they just don't think anyone will question anything because they're so arrogant. They just think, well, people will just go with what it's how, I mean, clearly there must be cleverer ways to do this than what she tried to. So it's an interesting story, and I had to talk about it for a minute because I found it fascinating and everyone else is talking about it. But yeah, I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I totally believe she tried to kill them. I think it's really obvious. I think she'll be up on charges pretty soon. And I think she's guilty, and I hope she's found guilty if she is. But yeah, it's pretty shocking and outrageous and sad. But I'm going to go. Bye.